All right, so I had a bit of an eventful night today. So the context of this epic tale I'm about to tell is that in the town where I'm living, they want to build a company wants to build a data center here. And from what I've read, it's basically for like AI and possibly cryptocurrency, although I couldn't really get any solid information on that, but basically they want to build a data center here, take up a bunch of farmland, rezone it in order to build this structure. And it's not a small thing either. We're talking several million square feet they want to build. So, um, they had a public hearing. The city council had a public hearing that you could go to talk about this. So I decided, you know what? I need to get out of the house more. And I complain about AI and, data centers and shit enough. So, you know what? I'll go to this one, right? So I go there, and the first thing I notice once they get into it and start talking is that the city zoning council or whoever's in charge of making the decision here to provide the land, and this is only for the land, by the way, not the they're not deciding to allow the company to do all this yet. They're just rezoning this farmland so they can use it. But immediately you can tell that they're going to vote to rezone it. They want this company to build this data center because the company goes through and they explain, what they're doing, and the company keeps bringing up the point, well, we're going to bring in jobs and money, but they hammer in on how much money they're going to bring in, which is how much taxes they're going to pay to the city government. Um, and a lot of money, obviously, several $1 million corporate superstructure. All right, they're going to be paying millions of dollars for taxes. So the city council, after this company gives their presentation, um, they're like, well, I really love the ingenuity here, and this is a great leap forward and all this. So it's pretty obvious they're going to vote for this. But anyway, so then they open it up to the public to speak on it, and one thing that I noticed almost immediately is that there there's a difference between the people who support this and the people who had concerns about it. And the main the people who supported building this superstructure here were people who were affiliated with or representing businesses, either smaller local ones or larger businesses, but with the exception of I think one guy who was not with a business, all the people who supported building this thing were with businesses and stuff, and all the people who either didn't want it or had concerns about it were just average people. And the concerns were like legitimate concerns. So people were concerned with property values was a big one, because this thing, basically where they're going to build it, there's a neighborhood, and they're going to build this structure like across the street from this neighborhood and then right immediately to the side of it. So it'll be surrounded on two sides by this thing. And then off to the side of where they're going to build it, there's an existing structure there, which is also relatively new, like within the last couple of years or so. So the people in that neighborhood are concerned with the property values because, let's be honest, no one's buying a house that's surrounded by these industrial superstructures. And another concern was environmentalism, because it's not only farmland, but there's like tree lines and stuff out there. There's some ponds and things like that. So there was that concern. One person brought up the soil, because several million square feet of soil getting ripped up, and once you rip up that soil, it's just gone. You can't replenish that. So there were those problems. Basically, none of those issues or the concerns of those people were addressed directly, and mostly the main point that the people who supported it were giving was jobs and money. And that was like the one thing they really went in on: jobs and money. This will bring in jobs and money. All right. And even I, against my instincts as an introvert, went up to the podium thing and talked a little bit, saying essentially what I just said there, that they're not really addressing the issues here, and that they're just talking about jobs and money and stuff. And one thing I didn't mention, because I figured it probably wasn't the place for me to go in on it, but they're talking about the jobs they're going to bring in, which is generally probably a lot of them aren't going to be local people they're bringing in. They're going to have a data center. They're going to bring in like tech experts from out of town, because where I live, not too many people are experts in technology. They wouldn't be qualified to work on a lot of the machinery they have there, I would assume, anyway, because it's a data center. It's kind of a new thing around here. But uh, the one thing that they also didn't address was that since the big part of it is AI, what happens when the AI they're using starts to replace other jobs? Because we've seen in the country hundreds of thousands of people. I think it's hundreds of thousands, at least tens of thousands of people. A lot of people have had their jobs replaced with AI around the country. And, artists and writers and I don't know, so possibly musicians too. Eventually, I wouldn't doubt it, but also other jobs, educators, like the college where I'm at, they're really going in onto the AI stuff. In fact, at this meeting, there was a person there representing my college specifically who said they were in support of this. And my college is now offering classes teaching people how to use AI. So, mm, what happens when you get all these jobs? You bring in these jobs for this data center, and the AI replaces all these thousands of other jobs. So now you're losing tons of jobs because of that. I didn't bring that up because I felt that really wasn't what they were talking about here. They were just talking about building this structure, so I didn't bring that part up. But the short of it is that they're going to vote to build this thing. Like, honestly, the city, they want the tax money. They want the money that this is going to bring to the city. So I don't have any doubt they're going to build this thing. I don't want them to build this thing because they didn't really address the issues, which means that since they didn't directly address the issues, I have a feeling that these are going to be real issues, all right? Property values in that area, the ruining millions of square feet of soil, obviously, stuff like that. The energy, because these data centers are energy sponges, they're just taking tons of energy. And they were saying this one's a little bit better than most, but they were kind of trying to word it in a way where they didn't address how much energy they were actually going to use. And I even tried to look it up too, and it's extremely difficult to get information on how much energy these data centers are actually using. I didn't do a ton of research, but it was an issue anyway, and they didn't even address how much energy they'd actually be using during this meeting either. So the short answer, the summary is that realistically, they're probably going to be building this data center here. So it sucks. Maybe it'll turn out to be great. I somehow doubt it, but what are you going to do? So, yeah.